Lucky you.
36 best
Tuned
holes in
into
golf.
Alternate Shots podcast,
Barney's Army.
where we talk about golf,
Sandy.
poker,
James Bond.
horse racing,
Double.
classic movies.
Zenyatta.
We have no script.
Down the stretch they come.
We are glad you joined us.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
So, Billy Regan, we have got a day today. We have none other than Steve Rabideau joining us, overall in charge of 280 acres of great prime real estate and 36 wonderful holes. Welcome, Steve, to the Alternate Shots podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yes, it may be the longest you'll sit still this entire year.
It very well could be.
So I don't know the conditions today. Is there play going on? Is there work going on? Give us an update.
Well, Jupiter sounds a lot more inviting than the weather we have right now. It's funny, March has been worse than January and February. January and February were abnormally warm. In March, this last week, 10 days has been brutally cold. I mean, and the wind has been making it feel like it's been in the teens or 20s. So it's been really cold recently.
One of the great features of Winged Foot is that there's always 18 holes open for knuckleheads like me that might want to sneak out there on a 38-degree day.
I remember a couple of years ago after you were here, Steve, telling my friends as I played in December down 14 East and I saw one of your capable crew mowing the front of the green and somebody else mowing the green. I said, who else is doing this?
It takes every day to get the golf course, right? I mean, you can't strive for what we strive for and turn it off for the winter months, right? We don't have much of winter and I get more work done. Me and my staff get more work done in the wintertime than we do in the summertime. I mean, in summertime, it's cut, spray, water, and, getting ready for events and stuff. In the wintertime is when we get all the stuff done. I mean, 90% of the membership doesn't see any of the work we're doing because they're gone. Those that are here see us doing stuff, but this is when we get all of our stuff done, this time of the year.
So we all live through, aeration and course closures and things like that. But I think I'm speaking on behalf of at least everybody in the membership that I know that the course condition, far back as I can remember, has been supreme. I use that word on purpose.
Well, that's what we strive for. I mean, we know that we're a facility that is a place where everybody wants to bring guests, right? And it's my mindset with my guys is I tell them that we have to be a member guest every day. We're basically preparing for a member guest every day because there's somebody that's bringing a guest that wants to get the Winged Foot experience. And then there's the days that we we don't please everybody, right? Because that's the hardest part of my job because we want to put our best foot forward every day. But in doing so, there might be a day that we don't have golf carts, we might not have this, but we try to do, in my mindset, since I've been in the business, has always been doing what is right for the majority of the members. And that might upset a small group of members day in and day out, but I have to have the mindset that because we have a big membership that we need to do what's right for the majority of the members every day. And one day that might mean we might not have golf carts, or we might have a frost delay and it gets the people that play early upset, or we have to delay or something, but that's hard. But in trying to do what's right for the golf course, unfortunately, we upset the apple cart with a few people, but our mindset is that we're a member guest every day, because that's what somebody's coming in to play this every day. And it might be their only time being here. I mean, listen, the restoration work was great. We put a lot of things back to what they were. Scale and size, right? On the greens, bunkers were moved into place where, well, if you moved out of place where they were just to modernize them, I tell people that we like took a Cadillac and made it a Ferrari, and that we had, on our greens that we had that nobody wanted us, or at first they were hesitant on if we could rebuild the greens and get them back to the same contours. I remember that was you know, something that everybody was concerned about. I was concerned about it because when we started this process, I hadn't rebuilt a green like that, you know, since we've rebuilt 41 greens here. And I remember Neil, it was great on that first green that we did was 3 East, and Neil had a camera in the tree, and he put cameras in every tree, and he sat in the rock behind 3 East Green all day for the entire day because that was the first green we started. And I fully get it that when we started the project, there was, you know, apprehension or people were worried of whether or not we could do what we set out to do because really at the time Gil hadn't done it. You know, he'd rebuilt greens, or built greens, but to do what we were going to do and scan the greens with a laser scanner and then strip the sod off and tell everybody we're going to get the contours within a, you know, thousandths of a surveying foot and get the sod back and, you know, change the infrastructure, right? Get rid of the soil that was there, do the drainage, do a gravel layer, put mix in there, upgrade these things, but have the outcome be basically what it was before was a huge undertaking, you know, and not that what they built was wrong, what they built was right, because in the 20s, when you built the green like that, you didn't have good irrigation and you were cutting a lot higher, so you wanted the green to hold moisture. Well, fast forward 100 years, we don't want the greens to hold moisture. So getting the greens back to what they were and getting the drainage and the firmness and the ability to suck the water out and everything, what was it's huge for us in this day and age. So
Painstaking.
yeah, you know, and it took 4 phases, right? You know, we did front of the east, and then we did the front 10 of the east first, and then we did the back of the east, and we took a year off of the 4-ball championship, and then we started the back of the west and the front of the west. And you know, we try to get better as a group every year doing things, because at first we did things on the east and we were learning and figuring things out, and our goal each time we did a phase was to get better at things. We worked some of the kinks out on the east before we got to the west, because when we started the east, we weren't going to even do the west. I remember that vividly,
Right.
that we were going to do the east, and you know, we were never touching the west. But yet after we did 10 holes on the east, and the membership saw that we, listen, not everybody's pleased, right? People still complain, but the greens were as close as we get them back, and they were firmer, and they were, you know, consistent. You know, that's what got everybody's attention on trying to do the west. So we tried to get better each phase on doing things.
The end result, even if it's not the exact contours that it was in the past, which may upset some people, it's a great result. The greens are in great shape all the time. They're all very playable. The Tillinghast philosophy is still so there, you know, where there's ways to get to the, as Neil would tell you, there's 4 ways to putt this ball to get it down near the hole or whatever. That's part of the greatness of that design, that the greens, like I always say this, are your 15th club. You can use the contours to help your game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny when people think, you know, the greens that prior to us rebuilding them, those weren't the green services of 1923, not even close, because what people don't understand, and I show pictures to Greens Committee all the time and my chairman and stuff, when we're doing some of these projects in the winter where we building some of the bunker edges and stuff, just we do that every year. And we do it every year because some of them just deteriorate, or it's a bunker that's an active bunker where there's a lot of people hitting out of it, right? And there's a lot of sand splash. People would be amazed at how much sand splash affects the green and how much it can raise a green up. I mean, we've had greens, front left of 11. I just did this past winter, I think. You know, it was raised up 2 inches.
11 East,
11 West.
11 West.
Yeah.
So that's raised up
Oh,
2
yeah.
inches since I did
Yeah.
it 4 years ago.
Wow.
Because
So-
everybody that goes in there is throwing a spoonful of sand on the green.
Exactly. So for people to think that what we had in 2018 prior to us redoing them is exact same green that was done in, not even close.
Yeah.
You've had 100 years of aeration. You've had sand splash going on those greens. You've had breaks that have done something. So yes, they're similar, but that's why we keep going back and trying to do the bunkers, and we pick away at bunkers every year, and we pull the sand splash off the, you know, the bunker edge to the green, and sometimes we cut into the green a little bit to get those back into what it was, so we don't get where we were, so we can keep the contours that we had. It's amazing what the sand does. That sand splash does a lot.
If you were given one hole, Steve, to superintend of the 36, I say that word for lack of a better term, what would the hole be that you would choose?
Well, I'll tell you my favorite hole. So maybe that's it. 13 East is my favorite hole on the property.
There's a lot of people who have said that. That's great to know.
Why is it your favorite hole? That's interesting.
I just think it's such a penal hole. I mean, I think the green is like 3,900 square feet in total, and you throw the false front in there, and you're probably down to 2,500 square foot green, and God forbid if you miss it. I mean, it's you're lucky to make a double, and you're happy if you make a bogey, and you're ecstatic if you make a par.
I always say it's easier to hit in one than two.
Yeah, I mean it's great. You know, if you would ask me on the West golf course, my favorite hole is either going to be 11 or 15, probably 15. But that's the issue though. There's so many great holes here, right? I mean, it's not like, and which is so unique in that a lot of places have 36 holes, but their other 18 isn't anything to shake a stick at. You know, here, I mean, you could argue that it's the favorite. The East is the favorite course of the membership, right? I mean,
Over the years, you're right.
it's just the green complexes are incredible on it. The fairways are a little bigger on the East. It's a little shorter. But besides that, the routing of it, the holes, the finish on the East is incredible. The par threes are arguably or equally as good as the West.
No doubt.
I mean, it's just a great golf course.
We learned
So-
from Mike Durkin, one of the better golfers at Wingfoot when playing match play on the East, just wanted to get to the 15th East, kind of one up, one down even, because he knew that if he could par 15, chance he's going to win. Par 16, good chance he's going to win. Par 17, good chance, and 18. So he just wanted to get there. And
Yep.
I think that goes back to why I ask every good golfer at Wingfoot's toughest 9 at Wingfoot, and they say the back East.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
16, 17, 18 on the back east, or 15, 16, 17, 18 are really always a test.
Yeah, you got to play what 11 and 12 or so. You can, probably score pretty good on 11 and 12 if you're hitting it okay, and then you get to 13, and that's a coin toss, and 14 is but from 15 in, I mean, it can be brutal if the wind's kicking in your face. It's a great finishing stretch.
Do you have a set amount of hole locations, as they say on TV all the time, for pins on all the greens, or is there an average number of them? Are there places that you never can use, or that you do use more often? I mean, obviously, there's some that you use more often.
We don't have them mapped out. We know the quadrants they go in. It's difficult changing holes. For us, it's different than any other golf course I've ever worked on. Anything on our greens is hard to do, right? Mowing them's hard to do, spraying them's hard to do, aerating them's hard to do. Anything rolling's hard to do because of the undulations on them. So when you talk about changing the holes and stuff, you got to be careful changing the holes. After my first couple of years here, having guys put them in bad spots because we're always getting some of the younger guys on that turf team to change holes. We went to having the guys use a 4-foot level. So these guys use a 4-foot level now, like the USGA guys were doing setup, and we make sure that we're checking the slope on those to make sure that they're not crazy based on the speed of the day. And we try to move them around so that in a perfect world, you'd have 6, 6, and 6. That doesn't always work, but that's what we try for. When we did the restoration, people always ask me, well, did you change the slopes? And I always tell them no, but when we enlarged the greens back to their original scale and size, we gained hole locations on a lot of the edges, which are the harder locations, but we actually gained hole locations. So,
And there's some misconceptions about, I've heard a lot of people say 3 East, the false front is way too severe now, but it's actually the same as it always was. It's just the green is bigger.
Listen, you had a bunker there. You had a bunker front right. People forget it. You had a bunker front right. The bunker on the left didn't change. The walk up was always there, right? I mean, so what was the approach walking up when the bunker was there? You take the bunker out and you level it off, and then that becomes green. So I mean,
Right.
it was there. So there was nothing that we changed anywhere really. I mean, no, and they were all there. I mean, 18 at the front of that green, we expanded it a lot on that green. But one of the things in the restoration was the opening to the green, the mouth of that greens, they all got bigger. It just was in what happened when we were expanding them back to the original scale, right? And thankfully, we had really good old photos, and the greens on the greens on the west got bigger by about 25,000 square feet. So I think the 15 and 17 got the biggest, right? So 15 I think was 2,500 square feet, got bigger, and I think 17 was about the same. 10 was the one that didn't get that much bigger at all, but all the other ones were 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 square feet bigger, which was basically in the fronts and the rear and the edges and stuff like that, which is where we gained hole locations. And maybe that helped accentuate some of the false fronts and looking at, but we didn't add any false fronts. They were just there. The landform was already there. I'm not sure if it was a depression. Changes were done during the depression. That's like when Tillinghast was hired by the PGA to come out after the depression, and clubs hired him to remove what they call duffer bunkers. And there's actually a book with what documents every club he went to and the bunkers he removed. A lot of times the greens shrink over time by just guys not paying attention to it, but also and sometimes through the years when labor might have been tough and clubs went to a riding mower, right? And I don't know if they did that prior to me here. We never put a riding mower on a green. It's too severe. It's too hard to do. But if you were putting a riding mower on a green, you can't make the turns on some of the tight turns. If you're looking, the back of some of these greens, back of 1, back of 18. So if you're riding, then you lose a little bit here and a little bit there all the time, and the greens shrink. So yeah, I mean, labor and financial constraints over the years have led to green shrinking and people just not paying attention and or turnover of whomever's maintaining the property and stuff. And I mean, we're going to do it now. We're pulling the covers off the greens today, right off the west. But first thing we got to do is go out there and mark the collars. Because if we don't go out and mark the collar at 21 inches, when the guy goes to mow it the first time, he didn't know where to mow the green to the collar. So you gotta define that, and it takes time. And if guys aren't paying attention, you can lose things like that real easily.
What's the most rewarding thing about your job?
I think just knowing that what we do is on public display every day, that's what definitely motivates me. And I try to get that off to the staff, right? The team, that everything we do is on public display, right? And we want to try to set our best foot forward every day. It's a constant battle, right? With Mother Nature. I mean, she wins all the time, right?
Yeah.
Rain, no rain, heat, drought, snow. I mean, humidity.
So Steve, one of the things that we learned from Jay Hill, who's played a few golf courses, he calls this area his neighborhood. You talk about 13 East and 15 West. He says that's his favorite neighborhood. I'd never heard that. Have you heard that before? In a 280 acre property, this is the neighborhood he likes most at Wingfoot.
I have not, no. But I agree. I love 15. I think it's such a good hole, a risk reward hole. I mean, if you put your drive in this proper spot down in the front left of this fairway, you got a good alleyway and open into that green. If not, you're going to struggle in that hole.
And again, you got that green as a weapon in your favor or against you, depending on where you hit your second shot, if you're fortunate enough to hit the green at all. depending
You
on where
know,
that
it's-
pin is, pin back right versus pin front or middle,
Yeah,
completely
no,
different clubs.
yeah, it's a great green complex. Well, if you get down the bottom in the flat, you're about 130 in, but if you're not and you're back up there, it's tough because you're on a down slope, you're on a side slope, trying to hit it up to a raised up green. I mean, it just throws so many
God
layers of
forbid you're in that
difficulty to
right-hand
hit.
fairway bunker,
Mhm.
Hurst.
It just bounds in there, which is,
Yeah, sure does.
you just gotta aim left. You're better off left.
Well, again, remember that bunker was moved because where the bunker was before we moved it would have been a very poor shot. But where the bunker was put into the play now it can take a, I don't know if it's a poor shot, but it's a shot just off the center of the fairway. But you're in the bunker and now you got a really difficult shot.
It's the rollback, the ball rollback. So the USGA and the RNA have come up with a proposal. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think something needs to be done, and I think that's probably a step in the right direction, but that doesn't mean that the PGA Tour is going to enact it, right? Right now, it's just the RNA and the USGA. So
Yeah.
if the PGA Tour doesn't adopt it, then you're going to be playing with two different sets of balls week in and week out, or for the majors. But people are hitting the golf ball too far. It should be set for everybody, because the average kids nowadays are hitting the ball 300 plus yards, is not meant to be hitting 300 yards. So I think it should be between the golf ball and the club, something needs to be done because you're taking too many great golf courses, you're making them obsolete. And
Yep, you're always
it's
gonna run
just,
out of real estate before you run out of technology.
yeah, but now everybody's got a TrackMan and every range has a TrackMan, and golfers are way more athletic, and they're working out, and I mean, so it's a different game, right? But couple that with the fact of, see, that's just one equation of it. The other thing is what we've done in our end of it, and the maintenance of it is that's gone, the conditions have gotten better and firmer and faster and stuff. So you couple that with a golf ball, and everybody always talks about firm and fast, and ball needs to roll, and so what we've done along with the golf ball and the club heads are so big and the balls are so much, they go so much further. So that, in what we've done, the ball rolls for forever now. So you're making these golf courses, as classics are now,
Driver wedge.
you can't be played on them, and designers are designing golf courses 75, 8,000 yards, which is crazy. It's crazy. So something needs to be done, I think, on a broader scale. Maybe
Yeah,
they're
'cause
just
even
trying to slow walk this, but something needs to be done.
even 75 or 8,000 yards will be obsolete at this rate sooner or later. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
it's really the only sport that doesn't regulate the ball.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the club head's been the same, the 460 cc's or whatever, but you look at the size of the club head compared to what the size of remember the great Big Bertha? That was
Yeah.
a big, our 3-woods are bigger than that now. Then the golf balls, I mean, it's that with the technology of what we've done on our end, and in the maintenance end of it, these courses are, they're for the really good player, they're too short. Well, and the wind is, the elements definitely can change a golf course overnight, right? Or from the morning to the afternoon with the wind, rain or wind. I mean, look at the 20 Open, right? The winds in September are completely different than the winds in June, right? The winds switch at that point. So in June, you're usually into the wind on your finishing holes. In September, it was downwind. The wind switch. So these guys are bombing the balls on 9 that was a par 5 for the first time. In June, it would have been into the wind, which would have been a different ball game, right?
Yep.
8
Yeah.
would have been into the wind. 18 would have been into the wind. 17 would have been into the wind. And you switch it around to September, and it's downwind. The prevailing wind switches, and it's downwind.
You take
It's
a lot of
different
the
ball game.
teeth out of some of those holes.
Wolf and DeChambeau both had like 52-degree wedges into 9 West, which is nuts.
Yeah, well, Wolf outdrove DeChambeau that week. He was the longest driver that week.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Liv? Got any?
I think those
any
two
thought?
long drivers took the long drive over to live, right? Both DeChambeau and Wolf went over there.
Yeah, Wolf went off the deep end. Liv, I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely put, I guess, a divide in golf. I'm not gonna lie, I tried watching it. Um, I guess I think the team aspect is sort of okay, sort of cool. But if you really look at anybody that went, anybody that's on the Live Tour besides 4 or 5 guys, you got DJ Bryson, Cam Smith, Bubba. Other than that, there are a bunch of guys that will probably never win again. They took a payday, so I don't know. I tell you that the guys on the PGA Tour like to Live because it made them a ton of money, right? Somehow the PGA just found oodles of money for them to start handing out at all of these designated events that,
It's funny how that happens, right?
they're now making. So what was the players? 3.5 million for the winner and 1.25 for the 5th place guy. So, yeah, I don't know. Phil Mickelson stinks. He hasn't broken egg or done anything. He doesn't even break par anymore. It's different golf, right? Shotgun starts. I don't know. Music. I don't know. We'll see.
It has done a little for the broadcast teams like CBS and NBC. And we talked to Mark Loomis about this. They were asking for years to mic up these players during a round, and the PGA Tour wouldn't do it. But I think that aspect's a positive. To listen to one of these guys go through a hole while they're in competition.
Yeah, I love that.
Where else are you going to get that?
You get you learn a lot about their personalities while they're doing it. Some of them are going to just talk about the difficulty of the hole or the position they're in, and others are going to, have a more jocular approach to the whole thing. So,
but everything the PGA's done, it's just been a knee-jerk reaction to the Live, right? More bigger paydays, miking people up. I mean, they've done it all because this all came out because of the Live, which I guess
that's
is
how the
good.
status quo is always affected by outside sources.
Right? I mean, I guess, ABA started in basketball and the AFL. So, I mean, I guess it's good, we'll see how long it lasts, right? I guess when oil's $100 a barrel, it'll probably last for a while, right?
Well, they can afford to keep it lasting. Will there ever be enough interest by either the players or the fans about winning a Live event? I mean, is there enough incentive to say, hey, I want a Live event versus I won the Masters?
Yeah.
It's going to take some time, for them to get a TV contract, although it was CW was big. They got their first sponsor. So now they have a sponsor. Fans, we'll see how fans turn out. Different mindset, I mean, it's a shotgun. So, I mean, for them, like you think about it for like the setup for the operations of it. So if we're setting up for US Open or when a PGA event sets up all the time, they want all their corporate stuff and stuff on the back nine. But on the Live event, it's a shotgun. You can put stuff wherever you want because
everything's a back nine. Yeah.
Everything's a back nine, right? So there's nothing there, but they have a smaller window to make money because they only have a 4-hour round of golf. And they let people in an hour before, so you have a shorter window to make money if that is a goal of theirs to make money on that. Completely different on a lot of aspects,
So if you think the classic US Open rotation courses, so Pebble, Oakmont, Wingfoot, what would it take? What would it take for Liv to get on one of those courses? What do you think?
Oh, boatloads of money. Boatloads of money.
So you're saying it'll happen because they have boatloads of money.
Yeah, I mean, just a ridiculous amount of money. I don't think that will ever happen. I mean, somebody would have to fall out of graces with the USGA and then just need to take a huge,
nine,
cash.
nine,
Yeah.
$100 million or more. I think somebody said 10 million. I said, not a chance.
No way.
You got a
No
lifetime
way.
relationship with the US.
What about like Bethpage Black, which is public? Do you think they would be more susceptible to?
No.
No, because they're Ryder Cup, right? They had the 25 Ryder Cup.
What's your favorite movie? As long as we're on the topic.
I gotta go Caddyshack.
Oh, so you could aspire to be like try
Charles
some different
Spackler.
techniques on getting rid of that gopher?
Yep. Gotta go Caddyshack.
So you came to Wingfoot many years ago when you first here. I thought about this morning. When you came, was there anything that the prior people in your position left you that you could start with? Or did you start, I'm gonna start clean. I'm just gonna go learn these 280 acres. How did that work?
You gotta just start from scratch. I mean, thankfully the winter I started in, December of 11 and full time in January of 12. You just you gotta start from scratch. I had to build a team. Thankfully it was a winter that we didn't have a lot of snow. So, I remember grabbing a placemat out of the clubhouse that had the holes, the red and the blue on them, and just trying to learn the holes. And you just got to start from scratch. There's so much stuff in the ground and so many things here, and it just, I'd only been at 18-hole facilities before, and so that's a little bit of a nuance, to go from 18 to 36 and bigger staff. So you just got to learn it, and the only way you learn it is by being here. And when you start, and I always tell my guys when they go to a golf course they take over as superintendent, your first couple years, definitely your first year, everything is reactive, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen, right? Where now I can be proactive on some things, and I've been here and I know what things are. But your first year somewhere, everything, you have to be reactive to what you see is going on and happening. You can't take what I learned at Wheatley or somewhere else. You don't know how a property is going to handle things. So you just have to be there and just, you get thrown something and have to deal with it. It takes a while to learn to manage a property, especially this size.
Well, I don't remember Wingfoot in the old days to be a grooming ground for superintendents, but it certainly has been over the last 12 years under your stewardship, which is massive. I think you can always go back to the head pros here. They staffed a lot of head pros, from Claude Harmon to Craig Wood to Tom and of course Mike. And that's awesome. There's nothing better than advancing those guys and gals that come up through the ranks, right? And giving them their opportunity like you have.
No, it's definitely, you asked me earlier what I'm proud of. That's definitely one of the things that I enjoy working with all the guys, right? I mean, it's not always fun, but for them, but it's a lot of work, but yet it's satisfying when those guys go on to get their jobs. And we've had 10 or 11 guys get head jobs here in all great places and over the last 11 years. And guys have gone from here to first assistant somewhere and then on to superintendent. So I mean, we've had a lot of guys going to get jobs, and it's definitely a feather, I guess, in the cap, or it just makes me proud to see that those guys. But it's also it's good for our program here to recruit people to come too. So
It's good for golfers everywhere because, the better the superintendent, the better the conditions that wherever they end up.
yeah.
That's good for golf all around.
What keeps you here, Steve?
Listen, it's the best 36 holes in golf, right? I mean, it's arguably the top 36 holes in golf. It has a passionate membership for golf. It's a golf club that they, I mean, it's the conditions, right? I'm still want to be here and want to be doing this at this high level. I mean, I'm super excited that we have a US Open to work towards in 2028. So I think those are I mean, it's Winged Foot, right? I mean, it's the best 36 holes in golf.
I think that sums that up.
Yeah, we often were asked to do comparisons years ago when I was involved in some things. The closest kind of club we can compare to is Westchester, but that's a country club. How do you compare?
I think the only comparison in golf, you got to go to Australia and get to Royal Melbourne. And I don't think there's anything in the States that compares to it. You got to get to the other side of the map and get to Royal Melbourne. It might be the closest that you can come to us.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, but I would agree. Yeah.
Who designed Royal Melbourne? Is that Tillinghast?
No, Mackenzie.
Oh, Mackenzie. I should have known that. I have the book right behind me.
Yeah.
What's your best score out there, Steve?
Here, oof. I don't play here much. And don't take this the wrong way. It's not, and I don't. It's still work when I play here. So as you guys know, golf is hard, right? And if you can't turn it off, right? So it's hard for me to play golf here without seeing something or getting frustrated or something. So although I do play here, I usually play much better off property. I don't know, probably 79 or 8 on the east, and I don't know on the west, something, I don't know. West will kick my butt. I hate 10 West. Double it every time I play it.
Yeah.
Join
I end up hitting it at that stupid tree to the right of the green every time. I never hit the green.
Yeah, I'd have about 100 hole-in-ones if the green was down on the lower right.
Right? 100%.
What do you think about these golf courses in terms of appealing to lady golfers?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the tees are the women's tees are set up where, right? I mean, I don't care, if it's the ladies or the seniors or those that play from the whites or the blues. If your tee position is proper, golf course should be playable, right? I mean, so that somebody from a forward tee should be hitting it where somebody from the back tee is, right? And we built forward tees early on in my tenure here, and we've adjusted the fronts of fairways so that carry should be the same what it needs to be for every different the level of golfer. So I think it's just fair off the tee for them. And listen, it's a hard golf course, right? I mean, you play golf here, your handicap should travel well, and it's hard golf here for a lady, a senior, those from the whites or the blues. It's hard golf. I mean, you can't change that.
I think the gold tees is one of the greatest attributes at Wingfoot that's the least utilized. I think if every Wingfoot member hasn't played from the gold tees once, they're missing an opportunity to, because the green complexes are the same, right?
Listen, people play too far back, right? And it's no fun, right? And everybody talks about pace of play and this and that, it's just no fun further back you play, especially if you're not hitting it. There's a formula out there. Whatever club you hit, I think it's 180 yards. And there's some formula that tells you what tee box you should be playing from. And most people play from their own tees. So because golf is hard enough, and then you come here and it's really hard. Having a chance for a birdie's fun, right? But if you don't have a chance for birdie at all and around the golf, something, you're either playing really bad or maybe you're playing from the wrong tees. I mean, Centennial's pretty cool, right? We uncovered the time capsule, which was cool. And we're doing a bunch of things there. So, I mean, it's amazing feat for a club to be around for 100 years and thriving strong like Wingfoot is. It's pretty cool.
With very few changes in those years physically.
We were talking the other day about Wendahack and the clubhouse. What's different, say, easily different between Wingfoot and Baltusrol is when you're at the end of the ninth hole at that club, you're out in the middle of nowhere. every time you're at the end of a 9, you're near the clubhouse. And the Wendahack made that clubhouse kind of look like even bigger because of the smaller slates on the top, right? So even Wendahack was fussing with the golfer, right?
Well,
Yeah,
Wendahack was meeting with Tillinghast before they, put a shovel in the ground to pick the best place for the clubhouse. Baltusrol didn't have that luxury. They were stuck with the clubhouse up on the big hill, and a lot of places are stuck with the clubhouse. But Tillinghast said that designing any course begins with locating the clubhouse.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely classic, right? I mean, you've got, 9 in, 9 out, for the most part, or 10 and 8, but for the most part, it's 9 and 9. It's definitely classic, old school, golden age golf course architecture, and throw in one of the best clubhouse designers of his era. I mean, it's just awesome on both fronts.
I never thought of this, but if you had a Mackenzie or Donald Ross and replaced out Tillinghast back 100 years, would you have had the same kind of green complexes, the same kind of result?
I don't know. I mean, I always think about this. If you gave an architect 280 acres today and you had him design 36 holes on 280 acres, 280 acres is not a big property for 2 golf courses, right? So what we have here, the 2 masterpieces we have here on 280 acres, it's phenomenal, right? To think about. And, most of these guys are doing, 18 holes on 200 acres, 200 plus acres. So to give a guy, a modern day guy, and tell him you want 2 golf courses. So I think that modern guys would struggle on it. I mean, I don't know what those guys would have done, but it's definitely a masterpiece.
Got a lot of credit to that white mule.
Yeah, 13 West.
Yeah. This has been fabulous, Steve. Thank you so much for your time. Your insights are so different than the people we speak with.
The other end of the club.
Yeah, such a learning experience.
The 2 courses you give us to play year round are, like I say, if you're complaining about that, there's something else wrong in your life. So I thank you for that myself, and I'm sure the membership agrees.
Well, thank you guys, and it was a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll see you around here soon. Well, that's what we strive for. I mean, we know that we're a facility that is preparing for a member guest every day, because there's somebody that's bringing a guest that wants to get the Winged Foot experience. I mean, it's Winged Foot, right? I mean, it's the best 36 holes in golf.
I think that sums that up.
Thanks for joining us
Casper,
today.
Billy
We
Harmon,
really appreciate your
Double
feedback.
Indemnity,
And please
Arky,
subscribe to the
2
show
Router,
and hit
Claude
the bell
Harmon,
icon so you get notified
Movie
of
Classics,
new episodes.
Mark Gable,
Hit them
Odd
hard
Job,
and hit them often.
Best 36 Holes.